Good morning, students. Welcome to Complex Analysis Live Lectures. In this class, we'll discuss about reflection principle for analytic functions, and we also see some of the elementary functions. Okay, fine. So before starting the lecture, I would like to see what are all, because we have so many, so far 14 lectures discussed. So how many words at least you have remembered? So let me share a code here. Mm, in Word. Can you see in chat box? I have sent a link. Even in our WhatsApp, I have sent a link. You just click on that link, okay, and start typing your whatever words you remember so far from your complex analysis. That means we have taken almost we have taken 14 plus 1 or 2 introductory lectures. So what are the words you have remembered so far? You can start. Can you able to open that? Hmm? Can you see this screen? So what are all words you are typing? Hmm? We can see that. Quick, only 1/2 minute I will give. Four students only have typed. Hmm? Here I can see how many students have typed. You can also see here, right? Only four students able to enter. What about other students? Huh? Analytic functions. So many basic things also we have discussed, right? Whatever it complex analysis, direct title somebody mentioned. Huh? No. No means what? You have not remembered single word? Somebody mentioned no here. 9 students. Fast. Then I will make only attendance for these students. Huh? Somebody written CR equation. Huh? Huh? 3 words. You can submit 3 words. What about other students? Hmm? Region. Okay. So whoever type more words will highlight bigger and bigger. Principal, harmonic function, singular point, entire function. So I can recall at least whatever I discussed. Extended complex plane. Good. Sphere means Riemann sphere. Some real, imaginary. No other words. Huh? You remember I said you just whatever you come to in your mind, whatever your topics understood, those topics you can type. Hmm? For that you no need to refer your notes. Interior point, exterior point. Fast, last 10 seconds. Hmm? That means only 12 students, whether you are active in class, 13 students. What about other students? More than 33 have joined in class. Polar coordinates, region, hmm, harmonic function, harmonic conjugate. So it is just like you all contributed, and whichever words you remember on this screen, you can see that overall as a class, what are all the topics collectively people have remembered. Hmm? Right? We'll stop this here and we'll go to our, we'll continue today's lecture. Okay? Right? Now people have started submitting. When I said about attendance, then 24 people suddenly submitted. Okay. So let's come back to the lecture. Today, what we'll be discussing is about reflection principle. That means, see, take f of z, a function, okay? Then consider f of z bar. So wherever z is there, you take, wherever z is there, you put its conjugate, f of z bar, okay? Then you take again its conjugate, okay? Now question is whether these two are equal. Is question clear? Hmm? You take f of z one hand, and the other hand you take f of z bar, then you take its conjugate. Are they two equal? Okay, that means under which conditions this is always true. This is the main idea about reflection principle. Under what conditions this equality is true? Okay, for example, you take f of z is equal to say z. Okay, then quickly, what is f of z bar? Hmm? What is f of z bar? Arre, if f of z is z, then what is f of z bar? Huh? Z bar. Then what is conjugate of this function? Hmm? Is z, which is same as f of z. Yes or no? Right? Z bar whole bar, which is same as z or not? Hmm? So for this function, whatever we have, this is true, right? Clear? Hmm? Now suppose take f of z is equal to z plus I. Okay. Now quickly, what is f of z bar? What is f of z bar? Huh? Say it proper. F of z bar is what? Z bar plus I. Be confident. Huh? Wherever z is there, we are substituting z bar. Then what is f of z bar and its conjugate? Hmm? Yes? That means conjugate of this right hand side. Think. Huh? This is nothing but conjugate of z bar plus I bar. But what is conjugate of this one? Hmm? Yes? Z? Z? Z bar. Why Z bar you will get? This is same as Z bar, then again bar plus I bar. Is that clear? Hmm? But this is same as Z, and what is conjugate of I bar? What is conjugate of I, sorry? Huh? Is minus I. Yes or no? Hmm? So you get Z minus I. And f of Z is Z plus I. Whether these two are equal? No, right? Hmm? Yes or no? For this example, what we have here is, so for this example, f of z is not equal to f of z bar. Is that clear? Yes or no? So it is not necessary that it is always true. So what conditions we can impose so that this happens? And it is called reflection principle. We'll state the theorem, then we'll understand and we'll prove it. Okay. So reflection principle. What it says is that suppose that f is analytic. So let me write. Suppose that f is analytic, okay, in some domain D, in some domain D, which contains a segment of the x-axis and whose lower half is whose lower half is the reflection of the upper half with respect to the axis, with respect to this that axis. So whatever that segment we have with respect to that, whatever lower it is there, it is simply the reflection of the upper one, or reflection of upper one is same as the lower one. Okay, with this assumptions, then f of z bar is same as f of z bar. Okay, or is it same as like writing like this one? Why? Because if you take for this one, if you take again conjugate, so this one is same as what? You take the conjugate of f of z is same as f of z bar. Is this clear? Yes or no? Whether this statement and this statement both are same or not? Yes. Whether these two statements are same or not, I am not asking whether they are always true or not, but is this statement is same as this statement? Yes or no? Because simply take the conjugate both sides here, you will get this one. Again, if you take conjugate, you will get this. Yes or no? Right? So therefore, f of the conjugate of f of z is same as f of conjugate of z if and only if. So here you can write for each point z belongs to the domain D. Okay, if and only if, this is if and only if f of x is real, okay, for each point x on the segment. Okay, so let understand statement first again, once again. What it says that first of all, you take an analytic function and some domain D where that domain contains some segment of the x-axis and whose lower half is the reflection of the upper half with respect to that x-axis. That means whatever domain we have, okay, and with respect to that x-axis, it is symmetric. Is that clear? That means when you reflect the upper half, you will get the lower half, or when you reflect the lower half with respect to that x-axis, you will get the other half. Is that clear? With respect to that, say suppose assume just like this. Okay, so if this is, say for example, this is your segment x-axis, part of that x-axis. Okay, then so just assume, even though it is not exactly that, okay, when you reflect that, okay, that means mirror image, the upper one should be same as lower one, or lower one should be same as upper one. Are you following? Yes or no? That means if you have some point Z here, if you have some point here Z, then what is meant by reflection? Z bar should be here. Okay, right? So if Z is here, then definitely Z bar is here. Whenever you have some point here, then its reflection is here. Clear? With this assumption, then f of, that means the conjugate of the function f of z is same as f of the conjugate of z if and only if the f of x is real for each point x in this segment. That means you take this segment and you take any point on this segment, and when you evaluate f at that point, whatever you are going to get, the value should be a real value. Okay, just go to this example here. Okay, then what is f of x? F of x is x plus I. Yes or no? Even your x is real, but is x plus I, is it real? It is not a real one. It is a complex number. Is that clear? Whereas here you can check that in this example f of x is, because f of z is z, so f of x is simply x, which is real, but this is not real. Are you following? That is the reason that identity is not true for this example, and for this it is true. And what is our domain here? In this examples, our D is entire complex plane. Okay, and we know for the complex plane, if you take the complex plane or the real axis, if you take, it is obviously reflection. Half one is the reflection of the other one. Are you following? Whether you understood statement? For what are all analytic functions f, the conjugate of f of z is same as f of conjugate of z if that domain contains a segment of the real axis. On that real axis, whatever point we take, f of x should be a real one. Are you following? Yes or no? That means for all these points, whatever we are considering, for all these points, at all these points, if your f is real, only on this line, if your f is real, then we can say that this identity is true. Okay, so let's prove this. First of all, assume that suppose f of x is real for each point x on the segment. So assume this D contains a segment of the x-axis. Okay, then we want to show that f of z bar is equal to this. Okay, so assume that f of x is real, okay, for each x on this segment, that whatever real axis segment is there on D. Okay, then we want to show that our claim is, we want to show that the conjugate of f of z is same as f of z bar. Okay, instead of proving this, that is same as proving that you take again conjugate both sides. This is same as f of z is equal to f of z bar, then bar. Is this clear? Yes or no? So we will take this right hand side as a new function. So let capital F of z as f of z bar, then whole bar. Okay, now whatever this capital F of z, we want to show that it is same as small f of z. Are you following? If we take this right hand side as our capital F of z, then we want to show that capital F of z is same as small f of z. So for that, because our f is analytic, so we want to make sure that our capital F, whatever we have taken here, is also analytic. So first we will prove that this capital F of Z is analytic in that domain D and it is equal to small f of Z. Is this clear? So our new claim is now what? That F capital F is analytic and this domain D and capital F of Z is same as small f of Z for all Z belongs to D. Then we are done. Yes or no? Okay. Now, if we want to show that F is analytic on D, it is, we will write capital F and small f in terms of U and V, whatever. So, let say suppose f of Z or f of x comma y is ux comma y plus I times vx comma y, and capital F of Z as capital ux comma y plus I times capital V x comma y. Okay, is that clear? Right? Now we will try to find what is f of Z bar then whole bar, that is same as capital F of Z, right? Now what is f of Z bar? F of Z bar is, if f of Z is this, then what is f of Z bar? That means wherever y is there, we have to substitute minus y. Yes or no? So this is same as u of x comma minus y plus I times v of x comma minus. Clear? This implies, now what is f of Z bar then whole bar? That means whatever you have here, then when you take conjugate, what you will have here is minus. Wherever plus I is there, minus I we want to substitute. Is that clear? Right? But our f of Z, capital F of Z is same as f of Z bar whole bar, implies what is our f of capital F of Z notation is ux comma y, capital ux comma y. Okay, plus I times capital Vx comma y is same as this one, whatever we are having here, which is ux comma minus y minus I times Vx comma minus y. Okay, so instead of writing every time minus y, what we'll do is we'll put minus y as t, or y is equal to minus t in new variable. Okay, then what is this will become? If you compare these two, what we will get? Yes, minus y is there we will put only t. Then what we will get? U capital X comma y, because these are two complex numbers, so real part should be same as imaginary part, right? Ux comma y is small u x comma minus y, so I can write x comma t, and Vx comma y is minus v times x comma t. Is this clear? Yes or no? Yes. So from this star ux is equal to, so from star ux is equal to same as small ux. Yes or no? With respect to x we are doing, and vx is equal to capital Vx with respect to x is same as minus Vx. Okay, right? Vx is equal to minus Vx, small vx, and what about Vy? V with respect to y and u with respect to y, that we will see. And what is uy? That means you are differentiating u, capital U with respect to y is same as, see now u is a function of x and t is a function of minus y. That means first you have to differentiate this u with respect to t. Yes or no? That means ut you will get chain rule times, then this t we have to differentiate with respect to y, that you will get as, so d t by dy. Is that clear? What is uy? If this is u and small u is a function of x and t, where t is a function of y, namely t is equal to minus y. So therefore uy is ut into dt by dy. which is equal to what we will get? Is equal to ut is same, and dt by dy, this with respect to y, if you differentiate, you will get -1. Yes or no? So therefore this is same as minus ut. Similarly, what is vy? Vy is again vt into dt by dy, just like what we have here. This already minus is there, so minus you will have. Okay, v you differentiate v with respect to t, then differentiate t with respect to y. Okay, this is same as minus vt into tt dt by dy is -1. Okay, so therefore this you are getting as vt. Is that clear? Yes or no? Any problem up to here? Now ux is equal to small ux, vx is equal to minus vx, and uy is equal to minus ut. That you can write as what? Our idea is we want to show that ux is equal to, so therefore capital ux is equal to small ux, but small ux is same as small vt, but small vt is same as capital vy. Is that clear? Yes or no? Right? So small ux is equal to capital vy we have shown. Similarly, and we want to show that capital Vx is equal to minus small ui. So capital Vx is minus Vx, and minus Vx is same as, Vx is minus ut, so therefore this is same as plus ut, but our ut is same as minus ui. Is that clear? Are you following? So therefore what we have shown here is this ux is vy and vx is minus ui. Therefore u and v satisfies CR equation. Yes sir? Yes or no? Right? Any problem? Now this small u and small v, they are continuous. Ux and vx are continuous. So therefore these two are second two times their partial derivatives exist and they are continuous. This implies our f of z. So this u and v satisfy CR equations and their partial derivatives are continuous. Therefore that f of z, capital F of z. Okay, and this partial derivatives ux also, not implies, also this ux capital ux, okay, vx, uy and vy are continuous. They have continuous partial derivative and they satisfy CR equations. This implies this capital F of z, which is u x comma y plus I times vx comma capital V, okay, is analytic. So we have proved that this is analytic. Okay, or you can also show that this capital U and capital V are harmonic. That means uxx plus uyy is 0, vxx plus vyy is 0. Okay, it is same. You can verify this capital U and capital V are harmonic. Okay, fine. Now what is remaining? We want to show that this f of z, capital F of z is same as small f of z for all z belongs to D. For that, we will recall quickly this uniquely determined analytic functions. If you see here, what we have proved, a result. Let me take that result. Here, what can you see this? Can you see this result? What it says, suppose f and g are two analytic functions on a given domain D. If f of z is equal to g of z at each point or of a subdomain or a line segment contained in D, then they are actually equal on the entire domain. Yes or no? Now what we want to show? We want to show that capital F of Z is same as small f of Z. We know already capital F of Z and small f of Z are analytic. So it is enough if we can prove that in our problem they are equal on either a line segment or a subdomain. Yes or no? We will show that they are equal on the line segment which is contained in domain D. That line segment is the x-axis. Is that clear? That is the idea. That means we will show that capital F of Z and small f of Z are equal on the line segment which is x-axis, which is contained in D. That is given already in our assumption theorem, that D contains a segment of x-axis. Is that clear? Yes or no? Okay. So that we will show here. So we will show that capital F of Z, our claim is, we will show that capital F of Z is same as small f of Z on the line segment which is x-axis. X-axis means y is 0 or not? Our y is 0. Yes or no? So f of x comma 0 is equal to small f of x comma 0 for every x belongs to, you can say that, line segment. Right? Is that clear? This we want to show. Now if you remember, we have not used any so far this assumption. Whatever we have started with, this we have not used anywhere. What it says? This says that f of x is real for each x on the segment. Right? Yes or no? This f of x is real, is already known to us. So therefore, in this notation, if we put y is equal to 0, whatever small f of z, when z is equal to x plus 0 comma 0 times I, the right hand side whatever you are getting to get is real. Are you following? Right? Since f of x is real, it is given, this is given. Right? We get, what is f of x? Which is f of x plus I times 0, which is same as u of x comma y, which is 0 plus I times v of x comma 0. So we get that this is real. But when we say that this right hand side is real, when can we say that this is a real one? When a complex number will be, say it loud. That means v of x comma 0 should be 0. Is that clear? That means our v of x comma 0 should be equal to, it should be 0 1. Are you following? Otherwise, if v of x comma 0 is non-zero, then it is a non-zero, then this is a non-real, it is a complex number. Is this clear? Right? Okay. Therefore, v of x comma 0 is 0. Therefore, what is our capital F of x comma 0? This is u x comma y, which is 0 plus I times v x comma 0. Right? Okay. Now again use this relation whatever we are having here. This u x comma 0, which is same as small u x comma t, which is minus y. So this is also 0 or not? So this capital u x comma y you can write as small u x comma 0. So this u x comma 0 is same as small u x comma 0 plus I times capital v x comma 0. What is v? Capital V is small minus v times x comma 0. Are you following? So here you will have minus v of x comma 0. But we know that v x comma 0 is 0. So therefore here it is also 0. What you will get is u x comma 0. But this is same as f of x comma 0. Are you following? Is that clear? Okay. So what we have proved? We have proved that this means capital F of x You write f of x comma 0 or f of x is same, is small f of x for all x belongs to that line segment, right? Yes or no? So that means by the result which we have proved in last class, if two functions agree on a line segment which is contained in that domain, so therefore those two functions agree on the entire domain. Yes or no? Therefore, by previous theorem in say lecture 14, okay, what we'll get is implies capital F of any z, okay, is same as small f of z for all z belongs to D, right? Is that clear? You may say that, sir, here we have written x, how you can get z here? Here also you can write z, because what is that particular line segment in our, it is a, that line segment is what? Part of x axis, right? Yes or no? This, so obviously on x axis y is 0. So here you can write, that is the reason we have written here x comma 0. Is that clear? So if you want this here, you can write this as, or equivalently, you can write this as f of z is equal to small f of z for all z belongs to that line segment of x axis. Is that clear? Okay. So therefore, f of z is same as, capital F of z is same as small f of z for all z belongs to that entire domain. That is same as saying that our f of z, we have defined it as conjugate of this is same as f of z for all z belongs to D, and that is same as if you take the conjugate, you will get this, right? Whenever in that, on that point x, f of x is real, we are done. Now conversely, converse is not difficult one, it is similar to this. So conversely, suppose, assume that our f of z bar is same as f of z bar. Okay, this implies by our assumption or with notation, f of z is u plus iv, ux comma y plus I times vx comma y. So therefore, what is bar of conjugate of that? U of x comma y minus I times v of x comma y. Is that clear? Now what is f of z bar? Z bar means x comma minus y. That means it is u of x comma minus y plus I times v of x comma minus. Is this clear? Yes. Now we know that what we want to show, we want to show that if we take any point on that segment, then f of x should be real number. Is that clear? F of x should be a real number we want to show. So if you take any point on that line segment, it is simply x comma 0. Yes or no? So let x comma 0 be a point on the given line segment. Remember 0 we are writing because it is a part of that x axis. That line segment is a part of x axis. Now this is, this whatever it is true for all z belongs to D. So in particular, the above relation is also true for this point or not, because this line segment is part of that domain. Clear? Right? So therefore, when you substitute x comma 0 in this above equation, it should be true. Hello? This is, this equation whatever we are having, this is true for every point in the domain. Therefore, in particular for this point is also, this one is true or not, because this is also a point, is also a part of the domain. Therefore, u x comma 0 minus I times v x comma 0 is same as u x comma 0 plus I times v x comma 0, because minus y is again 0. Okay, right? This implies when these two will be equal, Real part should be equal and imaginary part should be equal. But imaginary part here is Vx comma 0 minus Vx comma 0 should be same as Vx comma 0. That is same as saying that Vx comma 0 is 0. Yes or no? Right? So Vx comma 0 is 0. That means the moment you put y is equal to 0, this function Vx comma 0 is becoming 0. Right? So therefore, what is your f of x, which is f of x comma 0, is u of x comma 0 plus I times v of x comma 0. But just now we have proved that vx comma 0 is 0. So therefore, this is same as ux comma 0. And we know ux comma y is a real function, right? So this is real. This implies f of x is real for every x in that line segment. And that is what we want to prove. Is that clear? So whenever this f of conjugate of f of z is same as f of conjugate of z, then we have proved that f of x is real whenever that x or f of z is real whenever that z belongs to that line segment, right? Okay, so this is about reflection principle. Any doubt here? Any, do you have any doubts? We have used simply the fact that analytic function properties. Okay. Yes. Your voice, your voice is not clear. I mean, there is a break. Can you say it little louder? Whenever you are speaking, your voice is that microphone. It is giving some noise. Can you write it in chat something? Okay, very good question. Good. So can you think where we have? Huh? Yes. Whether you will face any problem if you see in this proof? So very good question. Try to think and see whether you can prove it. This if you go through the proof. Okay. Can you prove it? F of y is real, right? Instead of x-axis, you are taking y-axis. Then you prove that if f of y is real. Huh? So what do you think? What do you think in the proof wherever we have used? When you substitute here, it will change, right? Okay. So in this, are you getting anything important here? In this identity, can you say something about ux comma 0? Here you can guarantee that vx comma 0 is 0. Yes or no? From this, can ux comma 0 is 0? It is not necessary, right? Okay. So if this is no, no, it is not, because you if you want to convert this into in terms of y, then you want to say suppose this is f is purely imaginary or f is purely real. If you take y instead of x-axis, if you take y, then x comma 0 you try to put y comma 0 And can you guess something whether here? That means whether you want to say it is whether purely imaginary or is it purely real? That you just work out and see whether you can form a statement, whether it is going to be true or not. And when we have used this showing that capital F is same as small f, okay, so we have proved that f of x comma 0 is equal to f of this small f of x comma 0, right? Yes or no? Now what you will say here, that is important. What, when you take the y axis, how you will tell here, is this f of y, what you will say that f of y, whether f of y is real. What is meant by saying that f of y is real? It doesn't make sense, right? Yes or no? That means again u of 0 comma y plus I times v of 0 comma y. So you should get v of 0 comma y is 0. So if v of 0 comma y is 0, right, then if we use here, can we get anything? Okay, so you, whatever you ask, it is a good question. Try to form that sentence. If you take y axis, then what can you say about f of y? You want to say whether f of y is real or f of y is purely imaginary. Whatever you want to say, you say it and see whether this proof works or not. Okay. F of x. Huh. Yes. No, see, this f of x is real for each point x on this segment, means we have taken real this x axis, right? Okay. So if you take, suppose if you take y axis, then on y axis x is 0. So you should not use again here f of x, right? F of y. Then what you want to say? F of y is real. For each y on the f of y is real for each y on this y axis. Huh? No, what I'm asking, what will be your statement? F of y is real for each point y on the segment. No problem. Whatever you feel like, just write and send me if that statement is correct or not. We can see the proof. Okay. Yes. So maybe because it is time, we'll stop here. In next class, we'll discuss about all elementary functions, just like whatever we have seen in real case. So what are all we know in elementary functions in real case? So I can just see it here. Suppose in next class, what we'll see here is, we know already something about e power x, okay, log x, right? In calculus, this is exponential function, this is logarithmic function, right? And trigonometric functions like sin x, sin hx, okay, hyperbolic. Yes or no? So can we think of for z, when z is a complex number, so can we have e power z, and similarly log z, say sin z and sin hz, okay, if at all they are, how we can define them. And because we already have some notion for real, so whenever z is equal to x plus I times 0, okay, are we getting go back, are we going back to these things? Is that clear? So whatever the way we are defining these elementary functions on complex numbers, when we restrict our complex number to a real number, are we getting these original functions which we already known, right? That we'll see in next class, right? That means whatever properties are true here, whether they are true here, or whatever properties are true here, all already true here. Are there any differences? That means some properties are true here but not true in real case. All those things we'll quickly see in next class. Okay, we'll stop.